Hello. Are we live? Yep. Looks like we're live. Welcome back to the advent of Syntran. It's time for day 4. So, let's take a look at that. Okay, how does the scoring system work? So these are the winning numbers. These are like scratch off lottery tickets, I guess. So these are the winning numbers, and these are the numbers that I have in card 1. So we have 4, 5. 5 of my numbers are winning numbers. So you get 1 point, 2, 4, 8. How does the scoring system work? Okay. One, 2, 4, 8. Zero, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it's the number of winning numbers minus 1 and then 2 to that power. So we have 4 numbers, subtract 1, that's 3, and then 2 to the 3 is 8. That scoring system is confusing. Like the idea is not complicated, but the scoring system is confusing, and I don't know. It doesn't seem clearly explained to me, but that's subjective. Okay, card 2. You get 2 points, 2 points. Okay. Part 1 seems easy enough. Again, we have a problem with parsing. So I think I want another string helper function. I want something that splits a string at a given delimiter or a set of delimiters. So initially I want to, dealing with one line at a time, I want to split up this string based on delimiters of colons and pipes. So I want to split the string and get this as the first substring, this as the second substring, and this is the third substring. Then after that, I'm going to split again. So I'm going to take this, which I got from the first splitting operation, and perform, well, really I'm going to have it padded with spaces like this. So I'm going to take this and then split this again by spaces. So then I just have substrings of numbers, and then I can parse the numbers into actual integers. So I think if I have a split helper function, which takes a string and gives me back a vector of strings, that's going to make parsing this easy. I got this idea from somebody else on a forum. So I think that would be a useful helper to have. First of all, let's copy this. Let's make a directory for today. I don't know if I want to pop D. New day 2023-04. Go into that directory. We have our main function, which is copied from a template. I covered that in day 1 and maybe day 2. So now I have this template that just copies over for every day that I start. Let's paste the input. I think I forgot a T. There we go. That's the test input. Let me save the real input. All right. How big is this input? Got a decent number of numbers per line, about 100 some characters and change, and then 200 lines of input. So it's not really huge. Yeah, this should be manageable. Part 1 doesn't seem too bad, once we get these helper functions at least. Basically every day I spend like the first 30 minutes or so writing helper functions, and then I start actually solving the problem. So we're gonna do that again today. Let's get out of here, go into, I don't want to close that window entirely. And let's work on this input, on this source code. Just want to see if I can echo the input, and there it is. There's the input echoed. So let's do the helper function, which is included from this utils.syntran. So we're going to put the helper function in there. And let's put in a call for this helper function, even though we haven't defined it yet. STRs, strings, is going to be a vector of strings that I get out of a split function that we're going to define imminently. So split will take a string as an argument, and it will take a series of, or a set of delimiters. So at first I want to split by colons and pipes. So it will split the string here, and it will split the string here. It will get rid of the delimiters, and it will give me a vector where the first element of the vector is this string, the second element is this, and then the third vector is this string. So we're going to get a vector of strings out of the input string to the split function. So let's define that. Where do I want to put this? Maybe at the end. It's going to rely on scan. Yeah, it's going to rely on scan and verify, but it's not going to rely on index. I'll just put it at the end. So function split, that's going to take a string, which is of string type, and then it's going to take delimiters. Why not be verbose? Delimiters. No. If I don't spell out string, then I shouldn't really spell out delimiters. I think delims is a good enough abbreviation. And they're both strings, and this is going to return a vector of strings. So that's the function prototype. And we're going to have to make 2 passes in here. We're going to have to scan the string until we hit a delimiter. And basically every time we hit a delimiter, we're going to increment the number of, we're going to add 1 output string to the vector. So on the first pass, we have to count how many outputs we're going to make. then I can allocate an array and make a second pass where I actually save the outputs. I don't really have growable vectors as a type in syntran, so if you had growable vectors, you could do this in one pass, but I'm going to make 2 passes to count, first pass to count, and then the second pass to save the output vector. So first of all, what does this function do? And then delims. You could do it with just one delimiter, but I'm going to make this work with a set of delimiters. So like in this input, I want to split it at first based on 2 things. I want to split it based on colons and pipes. So I'm working with like a set of delimiters. All right, there we go. So to count these delimiters, we're going to use the scan function. And scan, where is it? Come. Scan takes a string and a set of characters. So it's going to work well with a set of delimiters, so it will scan for any one of these delimiters. Yeah. We'll also have to be careful if they're consecutive delimiters. Maybe I just won't worry about that for now. We'll see. If I can get today's stream done quickly, maybe I'll go back and clean this up so that it works with consecutive delimiters. But it doesn't really matter because I'm never... Yeah, so for here, if the first split is going to split colons and pipes, and then after that, I'm going to split this thing by spaces. So here we do have 2 consecutive spaces. So I want to make sure that I can make the split function work when there are consecutive delimiters like that. So I is going to be the index within the string. And right off the bat, I don't think we have to initialize to 0. Oh, yeah, we're going to initialize, and then we're going to do a loop. So while I is less than len str, we're going to loop. And we're going to scan. You also have to be careful thinking about whether your string starts with a delimiter or starts with a non-delimiter, because then you might have off by 1 errors. Yeah, this split function could be a little tricky to implement, but it's going to be very useful to have. Going to scan the string for delims. And then, to handle the case of consecutive delimiters, we then have to verify until we hit a non-delimiter character. So if you remember what verify does, verify is the opposite of scan. So scan keeps scanning until I hit something in the set, and then verify continues scanning until I get something else that's outside of the set. So we actually don't want to scan from the beginning of string either. We want to start scanning at I and go until the end of the string. So let's have another variable n, which is just the length of the string. So we're going to scan like that. And then we're going to verify. let's get everything nice and aligned here. There we go. And what we want to do in this loop is we want to count how many delimited strings there are. Let's call that n-elt. The number of output strings. And then every time this happens, we're going to increment 1. And I don't think this is right, so we're going to have to be careful and check whether the string starts or ends with delimiters or non-delimiters, and then we could be off by like 1 or 2, depending on that case. But for now, I just want to see if I can print this. And then we allocate the output string vector, which is just out. So let's see, can we count this? We should get 3, but I think we're going to be off by 1. So yeah, we're going to be off by 1. Also, actually this is an infinite loop, because once we scan past all of the delimiters, yeah, I is going to be -1. I also think I want to change the way that scan works. I guess I did this off stream. No, maybe I don't. So if we're somewhere in here and we're scanning the rest of the string for a delimiter, there is no final delimiter. There's just the end of the first line. So if there's no more delimiter, scan right here will return -1. So in that case, I just want to fast forward to the end of the string. And do I need to do anything for verify? I don't think so. I don't think there are any special cases here. So I think this is actually going to say 2 because we have 2 delimiters, and then like there's no ending delimiter. Let's see what happens. It's an infinite loop. Great, so this gives me a position within this string, so I want to add I. But that's tricky, because how exactly does the evaluation work? I think I want to keep track of the previous value of I. That's I naught. Then I think I have to do the same thing here. Yeah. Or, no. I think I should be able to use compound assignment. No, but then this logic changes. So I do need I naught. Come on, I cannot type tonight. Somehow it's been a long day already, and I'm just starting Advent of code. Is that right? Will that get rid of my infinite loop? No. Because there is no final delimiter. So basically I'm getting stuck right here in the string. I get to this delimiter, and then I can never advance I beyond that. No? It should... Yeah, I think I have to add one more here. No, how does verify work? Verify should give me... Okay, we do subtract one in verify. So, yeah, verify takes me up until the last delimiter, and then I have to add one more to get past that final delimiter. Will this fix my infinite loop? No, still not. What the heck? I think... No, the infinite loop is definitely here. That's an infinite loop. But I is greater than n, so how is this loop still continuing? Is this a bug in syntran and not a bug in this code? That's always a possibility. Because I'm incrementing n. The thing that I want to increment is n out. There we go. Somehow that's the right answer. Yeah, this is going to work for the first split, but it's not going to work for the second split. We got lucky and this just happened to be right. But for the general case with like consecutive delimiters or strings that start or end or maybe not with delimiters, this isn't right. But we got lucky, so let's... No, I think I want to fix this now, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this block, and then the second pass is going to save my vector of split strings. And I don't want to copy and paste it if it's not right yet. So let me get that, because that's going to be like a pathological case. See if we can split this with spaces as a delimiter. Yeah, so now there's another infinite loop. Because now it ends with delimiters. I think I want to handle this +1 logic somewhere else. should work. Okay, no more infinite loops. That needs to be wrapped in quotes so that I can read this. By the way, what do all the quotes in this line mean? So this starts a string. This is one string. Okay, there's a comma which separates a few things, but this is one string. So this quote starts the string, and this quote ends the string. These two quotes are an escape sequence that get interpreted as a single quote. So then when I print this, I have a single quote here around my actual payload. This is my actual payload. And then I have a single quote here at the end. That happens with these four quotes. So again, this quote starts a string, this quote ends a string, and then these middle two quotes are an escape sequence which gets interpreted as a single string. I think that's the way that C works. I don't know. Some languages, they escape quotes by using a double quote like that, or two double quotes, technically, because every one of these characters is a double quote. Other languages, they have you put a backslash and then a quote. This one, you escape quotes by using two double quotes. So that's what that jumble of double quotes means in this line. Yeah, so what is NL6? That's not right. So we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. Yeah, I need more test cases. This is not a sufficient test case. I'm going to go back here. In fact, I don't want to read the file at all yet. I am not ready to read the file. I need some basic test cases for splitting strings. So we're gonna have this which starts and ends with single spaces. This one's not gonna have any spaces at the ends, neither the beginning nor the end, neither the left side nor the right side. We're gonna have one which starts with a space but does not end with a space, and then we're gonna have one that ends with a space but doesn't start with a space. And finally, we're just gonna fuck this one up and have like a bunch of consecutive delimiters. So hopefully for all of these cases, I should always get the same vector of output strings, which is just, this is one string, this is one string, this is one string, 1, 1. That should be my vector of strings, and that should be the same for all of these cases. Yeah, these are kind of like unit tests. We want to make sure that all of these tests pass before I worry about like the general purpose, working with hundreds of lines of the actual input or even the test input. I want to make sure that I can get these basic cases right. One of them might just infinite loop right now. Who knows? Oh, yeah, can't use let. I think I can initialize it like that to just 1. This is a vector with just one element, and that one element is the empty string. But it has the right type. It's a vector of strings. So I need this type to be a vector of strings, and I can set that type like this, and then each of these lines doesn't have to redeclare the variable. We could have also put them in separate blocks. That would have achieved the same thing. Okay, yeah, so here you can see the problem. Sometimes this is counting 6, sometimes it's counting 5. So, what's special about the 5 cases? The 5 cases do not start with a delimiter. And the 6 cases, this starts with a delimiter, and that has 6. This starts with a delimiter, and that has 6. And this starts with actually consecutive delimiters, and that says 6. So if my string starts with a delimiter, I want to subtract 1 from my output value. So I want one more helper function, and this is really not much of a helper function, but we have isDigit, and isDigit just does all of its work by calling scan. I want a function like this, but sort of generalizes isDigit. I want a function any str equals char. If you're not familiar with Fortran, they always use EQ as a shorthand for the equals operator. Back in the old days of like Fortran 77, they didn't have an equals operator, and you had to do Boolean comparisons with .eq . So EQ just means that's Fortran speak for equals. And this is going to generalize isDigit. And it's going to take a string and a character. This is where I need another type in syntran, because I don't actually have a character type in syntran. I only have a string type, and then if I ever have a character, I just have to pass a string of length 1. But it would be nice if like a type checker could help me out and make sure I never try to pass a string as a character, because this function is only going to work with one. Yeah, I have to be careful, because scan, the first argument is a string and the second argument is a set. So it's like they're different types, but I don't have these different types in syntran, if that makes any sense. So this is going to scan string for char. And if you call this with arguments in the wrong order, it's going to mess you up. That's why I've named it like this. So the name of the function has string and then char. So I have to remember that the first argument is string, and then the second argument is really just a character. And if you mix up these arguments, it's not going to work right. Yeah. And now I could change isDigit to call this this new function, but I think I'll leave it as is, because it should be a little bit more efficient if I just call scan directly. Because if I have like a stack of several functions calling each other, there's no optimizer in this interpreter. There's nothing that will say like this function is only one line, let's just inline it. There is no inlining or any kind of optimization. So if I want to optimize it, I have to do it manually by just calling scan directly. Might not make a difference, but it can't hurt. The only harm is that I have a little bit of duplication now. Okay, why did I want this? Because I want to see if this string starts with a delimiter or not. And if it does, then I'm going to subtract n out. So if any string equals if it shouldn't be char, it should be set. So delims, which day are you on? I'm on day 4, and the language is syntran. Syntran is my own programming language. I have that in a link on my GitHub. So welcome to the stream, by the way, Mr. Poundsign. Oh, yeah, this is not even a Boolean function yet. I have to go back and fix this function. So if that's the case, I want to decrement the number of output strings. First of all, it's not a character, it's really a set. So that's a set. And then, okay, yeah, it does return bool. I thought I forgot to set the output type, but I do have that. Yeah, and I only want to check the first thing. So string 0. And this is renamed. Okay, yeah, I think that's it. So now every one of these test cases, it should split this into 5 substrings, and I should count that output number correctly. Yeah, so we have 5, 5, 5, 5, and 5. So those are all correct now. Now that we've counted, we have to actually save the output vector of split strings. So that's the first pass. Yeah, I still might have a tricky off by 1 error to account for. But let's copy that block. And then this is the second pass where we actually save the strings. I is already declared, so I can get rid of I. And then I think we should save the string. Yeah, we should do it right here because we have to remember I not, and then we have to know I. And I want to reset n out. So I want to set this back to 0. Does syntran have the concept of structs? No. No, it does not. That's where I'm going to get stuck. Maybe it's going to be part 2 of today. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be tomorrow or in the next couple days. But I'm going to get stuck. There's going to be a problem that I cannot solve in syntran because structs are one very important thing that I don't have. And I also don't have recursion. So Advent of Code loves to make you use recursion. I think last year that they made you use recursion on day 7. So at some point in the next few days, I'm going to get stuck and I'm not going to be able to continue in syntran. No worry, that is not an unimportant question. I really liked that question, actually. Yeah, so I think I want to do this too. I want to copy all of that. It's already declared, so I can't use let again. So now if you can have arrays all of the same size with different types to represent a structure. I don't have arrays like that either. I don't know what the terminology is. I guess they're homogeneous arrays, but the arrays in my language, every element of the array has to be the same type. So I can't like hack structs like that either. Like I really be stuck if I need structs. So if n out is greater than or equal to 0, this will handle the edge case where my string starts with a delimiter. And in that case, I just won't do anything here. So here I want to set it to the substring. It's going to be I naught through I. Yeah, I naught through I. I think that's it. I might be off by 1. I might have like a delimiter mixed in with my output, but we'll see. So that should set all of my outputs, and then I just need to return that. Okay, no infinite loops, but this is not quite right. Yeah, this is not right. So what did I save? I think I saved the final digit of each number. So I saved 1, 3, 9, and 4. And I don't think I saved the first one. So I only saved one digit because I have some kind of off by 1 error. So should this just be -1? I got some of them right now. Oh, I got all of them right. Well, that was easy. I'm really worried that I have like an out of bounds array index and I have some like garbage invisible character as a leading digit here. But in terms of the visible characters that I can see, these answers all look right. 1, 21, 53, 59, 44. Okay. I meant different arrays. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Parallel arrays. Yeah, an array of ints and an array of strings with the same indices. Yeah. Those are called parallel arrays. I work a lot in Fortran. And Fortran does have structs these days, but for a long time, Fortran did not have structs. And a lot of people still write Fortran in the old style. So I'm used to seeing a lot of parallel arrays like that. Yeah, so I could do that if I need structs, but there are a lot of cases where parallel arrays is not a good solution, and structs are very nice to have in a programming language. My cat really wants dinner. You can probably hear her meowing on the other side of my door. Okay, so I think this function is done, and it seems to be working. Let's go back here, and we can comment out these test cases. Let's try to work with the real input now. So we're going to make one split based on colons and pipes. I know nothing about those. I haven't written a compiler either. This is technically an interpreter. I think a compiler is more difficult to write. When I started this project, I wasn't sure if I wanted to make a compiler or not. And it's so much work just to make an interpreter, and I really feel like there's no way I'm going to make a compiler. Okay, so the first split, let's see if this works, because I haven't tested this in a minute. I mean, there are different levels of interpreter. So there's a programming language called Brainfuck, which is fun to write an interpreter for. Brainfuck is easy because it has like 8 characters, and you only have to parse like 8 different kinds of characters or tokens. So that can be like a fun language to write an interpreter for. And then I don't know how long you've been playing Advent of Code, but in 2019, Advent of Code had this thing called int code, where not every day of the puzzle, but for about like 8 different days spaced throughout the Advent of Code, they would give you puzzles on something called int code, and they made you write like a little interpreter for this fun little language. So like you don't have to start out with a big interpreter if you're interested in writing an interpreter. You can do like old Advent of Code problems and things like that. No, you're not saying dumb things. Okay, so did I split this correctly? I need to add. I just have to very carefully look for the commas. So that's the first thing, that's the second split thing, and this is the last split thing. So I think these look correct. So yeah, out of this split thing, I've been spending so much time on this little split string helper function that I have to go back to the puzzle and remind myself what I have to do. So I've split the string. I have card number, which I can just ignore. And then my second string is this, and my third string is this. So these are the winning numbers, and these are my numbers. So now I just have to check how many of my numbers are winning numbers. So we have, let's be lazy with names. Winning nums str. This is str's 1, and then my nums str. Now these things line up. That's why I'm very brief, so that everything is aligned. I'm not really interested in doing that. Yeah, that makes sense. I've spent so much time on this interpreter. It is a huge time sink. Also suggest you look at the input for the main response for this one. Oh, yeah. I looked at it briefly. Like, is there anything? It's just bigger. Like we have mixes of, now we have like 3 digits here, so you can't just assume that a colon is at like column 6 or 7 or whatever. Okay, yeah, just different sizes. It's tricky because like some days, I think yesterday, for example, with the gears, there were things that looked like negative numbers. Right? I had things like this, like it looks like -108. So you had to be very careful to parse this as a symbol and then 108, not parse this as -108. Yeah. Fortunately, I got lucky and I was only like looking for positive numbers to begin with. But yeah, they can get you like that in Adventicode. 1. There we go. Okay. So this is a string, and well, it's really, yeah, these are strings, and then I want to split these two. So it's a string type, and I need to convert this to a vector of integers. Care reading for every puzzle so far. Yeah, there's a lot of parsing in these puzzles. I was kind of disappointed with day 1. I thought day 1 was too hard this year. Like it wasn't difficult compared to like day 19 or something last year, but it was difficult for a first day, I thought, just because of how much parsing you had to do. Yeah, so I want to get integers out of this. I think I want to go ahead and split these off the bat. So split these based on spaces. And I think this should get printed. What did I do? Oh. Let. Is that all? No, split has an underscore. Day 1 didn't have 8-2 in the example. Yeah. Yeah, you have like 8. 8 is overlapping with 2. Yeah, I really thought day 1 was kind of tricky. What am I even looking at here? So those are the winning numbers. It looks like that is split up correctly. And then these are my numbers. 83, 86, 6, 31, 17, 9, 48, 53. That looks correct. I'm just going to assume that all of the lines are correct. And if I get the wrong answer at the end, I'll know that I have to look more closely at this. But we have one more problem. Is this a problem? So I actually have a string type here, and I'm thinking about converting it to integer. But it doesn't really matter if I convert it to integer or not. I just need to compare my things with the winning things. I don't care if they're strings or integers. String replaced with int. Oh. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean. If you replace things in the input, then you're like changing where they are. And because like 8 takes up part of the 2, yeah, that'll mess you up. So I think I need another helper function. We have any str equals set. So I want to loop through my numbers and see how many of them are in the winning numbers and count those. So n win equals 0, and then for I in 0 size my nums some solutions are funny, doing a strange replacement like 1 to 1. Huh. I don't know how that would work. I can't think about day 1 right now. My brain is overloaded just thinking about day 4. Yeah, don't worry about it. I'm just too dumb to think about that many things at once. Yeah, I'm just gonna make a temporary variable for convenience. This is gonna be my nums I, and I just want to print this. I'm a very fast single lane road. I'm not even a fast single lane road. I'm just an average speed medium, average speed single lane road. Okay, so did I iterate through all of these things? 74, 7, 10, 23, 35, 67, 36, 11. That looks right. Now I just need to check if it's equal to anything in the winning numbers. So I'm going to have a new helper function that helps me do that. I'm going to say if any str not equals a set, I just want to compare one string to a vector of strings. Any string equals do I want to take the vector first or the string first? I don't know. I just have to be careful. The type checker will help me. If I mess this up, the type checker will tell me that I've passed arguments in the wrong order. So my num and then winning nums. So if it's equal to anything in the winning numbers, then I'm going to increment the number of winning numbers. Any str equals so first it takes a string and then it takes a vector, and it's a vector of strings, and this will return a number. No, this will return a Boolean. and then we're going to loop through the vector. And if we find something in the vector that equals the given string, we'll break out of the loop. Or if we get to the end of the loop, that's going to be the other condition. So while I is less than size v, just v 0, and not found. Increment I, and then found will be true if the input string equals the current element in the vector. And then we will return found. Well, that doesn't seem right. It said, oh, well, hold on. There were some cases in the test where there are no winners. Yeah, so the last card has no winners. The first one should have 2 winners. So we should have 2, 2, 1, 0. Or 2, 2, 1, 0, 0. I need grep. Binary? That's not binary. What are you talking about, grep? Why does it think this is binary? Well, that doesn't seem right. It's too hot in here. Okay, I cannot read this. I'm printing too many things. Why does it think this is a binary file? It's because of the color. Why do you think this is a binary file? I don't know what's going on. So I need to turn off all of the other things that I'm printing. That is not working. Okay, that suppressed a little more output. Okay, yeah, so what I was expecting was 21100. I was expecting, oh no, those are the, well, it's the number of points, but I'm expecting 2 matches. So right now I'm just counting the matches. And the first one has 5 winning numbers. So I should get 5, 2, 2, 1, 0, 0. And I'm not getting that. It only counts 1. 83 should be a winner. 17 should be a winner. 48. It says there are 5 winners here? Oh yeah, 83. So 83, 86, 17, 48. What am I missing? I cannot concentrate right now. Oh my god. Plus equals 4211. Was that right? There are 5 winning numbers in the first one. Did I split this correctly? So we got the first one. As long as we get the first one and the last one, I'm convinced that I must have split that correctly. Card 1 has 5 winning numbers. Does it handle multiple spaces? Yeah, it does. So like card 3, it starts with 2 leading spaces, and it's able to handle that. 40. Did I mix up? I think I mixed up my numbers and the winning numbers. Winning numbers, then a list of numbers you have. No? I didn't get those mixed up. 41. Where is... Wait. Where is 41? What? 41 is not here. What are they talking about? What? Am I going crazy right now? How is 41 a winning number? It's only on one side. A list of winning numbers, then a list of numbers you have. You have to be careful with advent of code because they give different inputs to everybody. So like when I clicked here and saved my puzzle input, this is not the same puzzle input that everybody else gets. I don't know how this works. I don't know if they have like 10 different puzzle inputs and they give you a random 1 out of 10, or if like everybody gets a totally unique puzzle input. But I think the test input is the same for everybody. But I don't know. Maybe they gave me a test input that nobody else had, but I don't understand what's going on. How about the other ones? 48. 48, I see how that's a winning number. 83, I see how that's a winning number. 86, I see how that's a winning number. Oh, no. There are not 5 winning. They mean there are 5 numbers on this side of the pipe. Okay, of the number. Okay, I was right all along. 4 of them are winners. I just can't parse like this whole paragraph of text and figure out like the one number that I'm supposed to be finding. So it is 4. The right answer is 4. I'm not going crazy. I just can't read. and that's okay. I'll accept the fact that I can't read. My cat really wants dinner right now, and she's going nuts on the other side of the door. So, like, I'm having trouble concentrating while that's going on. Okay, I think we're almost done with part 1, though. So I'm going to finish part 1 and then feed her, and then come back and do part 2. So, yeah, it's worded strangely. In their defense, like, I read this super fast, or like I didn't really read it at all. I kind of just like, a lot of this is just storytelling. They're storytelling, which has nothing to do with the problem. And like, there are 25 days of Advent code. I can't spend time like reading the story. I just want to skip straight to the puzzle. So like, I skipped through a lot of this. I barely read the rest of it. So like, of course I messed that up. So with n win, we still have to do like extra math. We have to do 2 to the n win minus 1, and then add that up, I think. Yeah, 13 points total. So we add up all the points. So it's 2 to the power of whatever the number of winning numbers is minus 1. I don't know the story of any of them. Yeah, I think like what I did it last year, I started out reading the story, and then I was like, the story is not the point of these. The point of this, for me at least, is the puzzle. And I'm not like criticizing anybody who enjoys the story. If you enjoy the story, that's fine. It's just not what I'm here for. So I want to add up something to the sum. So sum plus equals 2 to the power of n win minus 1. This is my power operator. I know some languages like C don't have this. In C, you have to call the pow function. I think that's kind of annoying. Here I just have an operator for exponentiation. So is that part 1? We should get 13. No. We should get 13, right? We should get 13 points. Four, 2, 1, 1, 0, 0. Oh. I think if n win greater than or equal to 0. Is that it? That's still not right. Did I save that? So 2 to the 3. So we have to look at n win and subtract 1. So it's really 3, 1, 0, 0. And then we actually ignore these. So 2 to the power 3 is 8. 2 to the power 1 is 2. How are they getting 13 out of this? Do I have all of the lines of text? There's 6 cards. Eight points. Card 1 is worth 8 points. 8 plus 2 is 10, plus another 2. Oh, did I mess up card 3? Yeah, card 3 should have 2 winners. So 21 and 1. 21 and 1 should both be winners in card 3, but I'm only counting 1 winner for some reason. Do I have some kind of off by one error? $21, but not 1. So why did 1 not count? Because we never actually iterate to 1. Okay, I failed to split this correctly. I split all of these, but then I left out 1. So splitting is failing on this. Is that because it ends with a single digit? I think this is the only one that ends with a single digit. Yeah. And then I fail to split that. Also starts with a single digit, yeah. I did test that, so these test cases I think should have covered that. Is it the only one with a matching single digit? That might also be true. But I know I'm not splitting it correctly. So I might have multiple bugs, but I definitely want to fix this bug. How do I want to disable this loop? I think I'll just comment it out again. Split that by spaces. And it doesn't print anything anymore. And I have to feed my cat before I fix this bug, so I will be right back. are back. So why can't we split this thing correctly? All right, yeah, thanks for tuning in. Am I counting correctly? My mouse just disappeared. Seven. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There should be 8. There should be 8, not 7. My mouse just disappeared again. What the heck is going on? Do I need this +1? What happens if I take that out? But is this correct in general? Let's look at some of the other test cases. Okay, so we counted correctly, but we have to save it now. Is that it? All right, let's try that with a real problem. Well, the test input of like the whole problem, not just these unit tests. $13. That's right for the test input. Let's try it on the real input for part 1. Let's hope that's right. Let's go. Part 2. This is a long part 2. I can't think about this right now. Okay, so we're going to start out with one copy of each card. Right, so we're going to have like a vector of all ones. And then when card 1 has 4 matching numbers, we're going to increment the number of copies for the next 4 cards. I think that's the way to do it. And we could do all of this in one pass. Then how many total scratch cards do you end up with? Okay, so we don't have to worry about this 2 to the power of whatever anymore, that weird scoring system. We just have to know how many copies of each card do we have. Okay, so that doesn't seem that bad, but it's already taken me like an hour and 15 minutes to do part 1, so it could always end up taking longer than I think it's going to take. All right, let's get to it. All right, yeah, I'll let you know. Okay, so I'm gonna take part 1 and copy it to start out part 2. And I want to go back to the test input. So this is now part 2, and I want to call that from here. So now we're just running part 1 twice. I want to clean up some of this stuff in split because I know that split works now. And there's this weird thing in syntran where if I just return like this, it will print this implicitly. But if I assign it to some temporary value, that suppresses the print. It's something that I should fix somewhere in the language itself, but I'll just work around it like this. Okay, I'm going to leave the rest of the printing in for now. What? Oh, God. Split is not right. It's getting a pipe as a number, but a pipe is never going to match, so I don't actually need to worry about that. Maybe I'll try to fix that bug later, but for right now it doesn't really matter, because I should get the right answer anyway. Right, like this still says 13. It's all good. Okay. So before we do anything, I want to count the number of lines. Do I have n in here? I don't use a variable n, so n is just going to be the number of lines. So in the example input, did that not print anywhere? Oh, right, part 2. Yeah, so we have 6 lines. And now we're going to allocate a vector and start out with 1 copy of every card. And then every time we get matches, we're going to increment like the number of copies for the next few cards. And then that's going to be the thing that we have to sum up at the end. So n copies, that's going to start out as 1, and there are going to be n of them. And also, I have a bug in split, so doesn't matter for now, but I might reuse this function in later days, and then I'll probably want to fix that bug. So I just want to put a note there so that I fix it later, hopefully. Maybe I'll just forget, maybe I'll never fix it. And then like 3 days later, I'll try to reuse my split function and I'm gonna go crazy because I won't know why it doesn't work. So this is part 2 now. So n copies starts as 1. We still have to count the number of, I don't know what you want to call them. It's not the number of winning numbers, because that's what I got confused for like 15 minutes trying to read that paragraph and figuring out why my number of winning numbers didn't match. But I'm going to keep this variable named nwin for the number of whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so I'm not going to do this power of 2 nonsense anymore. And now I need to read this closely. So we get 4 matching numbers, so nwin, the variable that I'm calling nwin, is 4. So when that happens, we're going to increment 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we're going to increment the n copies for these cards. But I'm using 0-based indexing, so it's more like this is card 0, this is card 1, this is card 2, and up to card 5. So I have to be careful about that. So we're going to so basically when we're on card 2, it's like we're processing card 2 twice. So we're not going to increment these by 1, we're going to increment these by the number of copies of the current card. So I don't think that's too complicated. So n copies, I need to keep track of the index that we're currently on. So I'm already using I here, so I can't reuse I. Let's call it J. Let's call it I card. And then at the end of this loop, we're going to increment I card. So n copies, we're not going to increment the current card. We're going to start at the next card. So I card plus 1. I also don't have loops yet. So like I can't implement arrange all at once. So I need to do a second loop. So for J in, we're not going to increment the current card. So it's going to start at I card plus 1. And then we're going to go up to I card plus nwin. Is that right? So when we start on card 1, we get 4 winning numbers. So we're going to do the next 4. So plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4. But these loops are not inclusive of the upper bound, so I have to do another plus 1. And then that is going to get incremented by the number of copies of the current card. I think that might be it, and then we just have to sum that up at the end. So how many copies do we end up with? I remember the number 14 because I was like, oh, they're all powers of 2. And then there was like a 14. So this might be right. So we get 1, 2, 4, 8, 14, and 1. And then if we add that up, it's supposed to be 30. So can I add these up? I think I haven't touched sum yet. So sum starts out as 0. I just want to initialize this lower down so that I don't get confused. I think that might be it. 30. All right, let's do the real input. Fingers crossed. Oh, right. Man, once I got that split function working close enough, and split still has a bug, but it's close enough for today. Once I got it working close enough, this wasn't too bad. But man, that was a pain. I don't know. Maybe I'll go back and try to fix split right now. I think I want to commit. Whenever I have something that works, I want to commit it to GitHub so that I can always like go back to that checkpoint in the worst case scenario. Mr. Pound Sign, if you're out there listening, I got it. So I'm going to commit this, and I'm going to try to fix the split function, all while making sure that I can still get the right answers for today. I don't need that. Okay. I have trailing white space. I hate trailing white space. I'm already thinking ahead of how to fix this bug, and it's somewhere in here. But I just want to commit this. Let's make sure that that actually pushed. There it is, day 4. Okay, let's try to fix this bug. So I know it's all hidden. There's the stuff that we just pushed. Okay, let's try to fix that bug. I think I was seeing it with the test input. Yeah, so I'm getting a pipe. It's the initial split that I'm messing up. So as soon as I split by colons and pipes, I should get rid of the pipe. And that is somewhere in here. So I commented out this +1 because that was messing up my trailing single digit. In here, I not -1. It's really annoying that Git thinks, or grep thinks, that this is binary. I think it's because of this colored text. I'm coloring this text with ANSI escape sequences. Maybe it's because of RL wrap. No, it's not RL wrap. It could be time. So 30. I think as long as I can still get 30 for the test input, I'll be good. I think that was it. Let's make sure I still get the right answers on the real input. It takes a second to run, mostly because of all the stuff that it's printing. 628877, 628487. Yeah, I think that's right. Two 26443. 26443. Okay. So I think I fixed the bug in split. And I still seem to be getting the right answer. Let me double check one more time. Yeah, so when we had the bug, we were getting a pipe here as the first number. And we were lucky because, like, of course the pipe can't count as a winning number because, like, nothing in the other set is a pipe. So it was a bug that didn't really matter for today, but it's really going to hurt me if I need to reuse this split in later days. That bug might make a difference. So I wanted to fix it. I think it's right now. And all this was doing is, so in the one case, it was giving me a pipe. And in the other case, whenever I was splitting numbers, I was getting like leading white space in with the numbers. And then somehow that didn't matter because it was consistent in the list of the winning numbers and my numbers. So as long as it consistently had like a leading white space or whatever was in there, I was still getting the right answer. let's turn off some of these prints. I think I don't have any prints in there. And now it should just say the answer for part 1 and the answer for part 2. All right, I think I'm gonna commit this and then end the stream for today. You know what? I'm still not really satisfied with split. Okay, yeah, I am. So I have like 2 passes in split. I have the first pass where I'm counting the delimited strings, and then a second pass where I actually save them. So I fixed the bug here, and I was thinking, do I have the same bug up in the first pass? Actually, I don't, because it's the one line which is just specific to saving the string, so it's not in the first pass. Hey, you're back. I figured it out. Now I'm just like cleaning up my code and committing it again. Part two was not that bad. Once again, I had to like stare at the text for a long time to figure out what the hell they're talking about. But the hard part for me was just getting the split function working. So once I got that working for part 1, I thought part 2 wasn't too much harder. Yeah, super easy compared to part 2. Part 1. What was the other day? Was it day 2? Or am I thinking of a different year? What happened on day 2? Yeah, I think on day 2, once you got the parsing for part 1, part 2 wasn't that much harder. And today, day 4 was a lot like day 2 in that regard. So, yeah. I think this is good. I just want to commit this cleanup, and then unfortunately I'm about to end the stream, so you got back at the wrong time. Thanks, man. You too. Let's make sure that pushed. Clean up. Yep, there we go. Come on. Yep, that's it. That's the end of day 4. I'll probably stream around the same time tomorrow night. So that's all for now, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.